Close your eyes. Let the world fade. Feel the weight of stillness. Now picture this. Moonlight spills over dunes, casting shadows like sleeping giants. The year is 1324, somewhere in West Africa. A whisper of bells, a sigh of sand, a caravan of 60,000 winds through the Sahara. Not an army, a pilgrimage. Camels sway under gold-laden sacks, their breath fogging the cold air. Servants trail, scattering coins into the wind. Now, imagine you're inside a grand palace. Can you see it? Pillars made of gold, a throne shining like stars. Look closer. There's a man whose presence fills the room, a man who smells like raw gold. His glowing crown is blinding your eyes. He's seated on the golden throne. Slowly, gently approach him. What thoughts might cross your mind as you get closer? Yes, take a moment and feel the peace. And now, as you stand before him, remember, this story isn't just his, it's yours too. Before I continue, where are you watching this video from? Is it a quiet room in New York with the hum of the city outside? Or perhaps you're nestled by the fire in a cozy spot in London? Tell me, where does this moment find you? Let me know. What does the clock whisper where you are? 3 a.m., noon? Let me know in the comment box. Now, lower your screen's brightness. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Imagine the scent of gold. Smell it. Breathe. You're no longer here. You're there. Long ago, in the heart of West Africa, there lived a man whose wealth was said to be beyond imagining. A vast fortune reshaped the world around him. This was Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire in the early 13th century. A man whose name echoes through the sands of time, whispered in stories of gold, grandeur, and mystery. Yet, much like the shifting dunes of the Sahara, the full measure of his fortune has slipped quietly beyond our reach, lost beneath layers of history. Tonight, we begin a journey of hurried discovery, not of gentle unfolding. We will travel across deserts and rivers, through bustling markets and grand mosques, into the heart of an empire whose riches changed the course of history. Along the way, we will meet the man behind the wealth, a generous and wise king whose pilgrimage to Mecca astonished the world and whose vision shaped a golden age. This is not merely a tale of gold and power. It is a story of legacy, of treasures both lost and found, of civilizations rising and falling under the weight of fortune and time. As we move deeper into history, we will explore how Mansa Musa's wealth was not just measured in gold, but in culture, knowledge, and faith, a richness that survives even when the coins have long disappeared. Let me ask you these questions. If all the gold in the world slipped quietly through your fingers, what would remain in your hands? What stories would your heart hold in the soft silence after riches have gone? These questions invite us to pause and listen, to lean close as if by a crackling fire, where stories unfold slowly, weaving together the threads of empire, faith, and human ambition. So settle in and let the gentle rhythms of history carry you back, beyond the reach of time, beyond the glitter of gold, to the lost fortune of Mansa Musa, the richest man in history. In the 14th century, West Africa had vast landscapes and quiet wonders. The sun would rise over endless stretches of desert sand, where the Sahara's golden waves rippled softly under the gentle morning light. This was a harsh and beautiful land, silent in its vastness, yet alive with the slow, steady rhythm of life. The desert was not empty. It was a world of movement and connection, where caravans traced ancient routes carrying goods and stories between distant places. Below the shifting sands, the mighty Niger River wound its way through the heart of this region. It was a ribbon of life, nourishing the lands it touched, bringing water to fertile fields and shade to bustling settlements. Along its banks, villages grew into towns and towns into cities. The river's song was soft but persistent, flowing quietly, supporting the pulse of a great civilization. This civilization was the Mali Empire. It rose slowly but surely, a kingdom that stretched across great distances, its borders touching other lands, some peaceful, some wary neighbors. Mali was a land of many peoples, each bringing their own customs, languages, and rhythms. Traders, farmers, scholars, and artisans lived here, weaving their lives into the fabric of the empire. They spoke in many tongues but shared a common purpose, the pursuit of prosperity and faith. Gold was the heart of this prosperity. It glittered like scattered stars in the earth, precious and rare. In Mali, gold was more than a metal. It was a symbol of wealth, power, and connection. It drew merchants from far away, from North Africa, the Middle East, and beyond, who journeyed across the desert to trade salt for gold, exchanging goods that would travel even farther. These trade routes were lifelines, carrying riches, ideas, beliefs, and hopes. In this place shaped by sun, sand, and river, a man emerged, a figure both humble and destined for greatness. Musa Keita was born into this world, molded by its rhythms and dreams. He knew the warmth of the desert sands beneath his feet and the cool shade of palm trees along the river banks. He walked among his people with quiet strength, carrying the weight of responsibility with a steady heart. Musa's life was intertwined with the land's bounty and the empire's needs. He understood the value of trade and faith, the forces that held Mali together. The caravan's slow march through the desert was more than commerce. It was a spiritual journey, a connection to a wider world. This understanding led Musa to undertake a pilgrimage, one that would change how the world saw Mali forever. Imagine the soft hum of camels' footsteps, the gentle clinking of gold coins, and the whisper of prayers rising beneath a vast sky. Feel the warmth of the sun on worn faces, the scent of spices and dust mingling in the air. These senses carry us into the story of a king whose wealth was as much about belief and generosity as it was about the treasure he held. As we move deeper into history, let us listen to the quiet strength of a land and a people. Their story slowly unfolds, where each step reveals another layer. Culture, faith, and power held gently but firmly. Through this, we will understand the man Mansa Musa and the empire that carried his name across deserts and seas. So as you rest and let your thoughts drift, picture the golden sands and flowing rivers, the trade routes alive with possibility, and a king ready to leave his mark, not just in gold, but in the hearts and histories of generations to come. The rise so many centuries ago, in the quiet heart of West Africa, a child was born. His name was Musa. No drums marked his birth, and no great signs filled the sky. Yet something unseen stirred in the sands. He grew up in a land of heat and gold, a place where silence held secrets, where stories passed between generations, like water in cupped hands. Musa listened, always listening, always watching. The Mali Empire was already strong. Its wealth flowed from gold, salt, and trade. Caravans moved slowly across the desert, step by step, sand by sand. Life was measured in patience. The empire's ruler was Abu Bakr II, a man with dreams that stretched far. Some say he sought to cross the ocean to find new lands and answers. They say he left and never returned. Musa did not fight for the throne. He did not plot or push. He was chosen, quietly, steadily. As deputy, he had ruled in Bakr's absence. Now he ruled in full. He became Mansa, a word that means king. But it meant more than that. It meant guardian. It meant a guide. The people did not rise up. They did not resist. They saw him. They knew him. He was of the land. He was shaped by it. Musa did not begin with gold. He began with vision. He looked out over the empire, villages, cities, rivers, deserts, all different, all bound by trade, all pulled together by faith. He walked the streets of Niani, the capital. The air was warm, and the ground was soft with dust. Traders shouted in soft voices. Children chased goats. Women pounded grain. Life moved slowly, but it moved. Musa listened to his advisors and the people. He studied the Quran, respected the scholars, and asked questions. He saw that Mali was rich but not yet great. He understood something simple. Gold alone does not build an empire. People do. Ideas do. So he began to shape things, gently, like smoothing clay. He supported trade, not just across the desert but within it. He made roads safer. He encouraged order. He sent word to distant traders that Mali was open, steady, and worth their time. Salt came from the north and gold from the south. Both met in the middle, in Mali. He did not shout about his power. He showed it in stillness, in stability. Some say he was born around 1280 and came to power in 1312. Dates move softly here, like wind across dunes. We do not know everything, but we know this. By the time Musa sat on the throne, the empire was ready to grow, ready to rise. He saw Timbuktu not just as a city, but as a spark, a place where trade and learning could live together. He supported scholars, built mosques, and honored faith. He was not a warrior king. He was a builder king, a planner, and a dreamer with his feet on the ground. And yet, he was humble. He did not shout his name into the sky. He walked carefully, as though every step mattered. Still, the world was watching. The desert whispered his name. The traders carried stories of a quiet king in a land full of gold. But Musa wanted more than wealth. He wanted purpose. He believed in Islam as a guide, not just as a faith. He prayed, fasted, and eventually made a decision, one that would change everything. He would go to Mecca, not alone, not in silence, but with a caravan so large the world would never forget. But that is for another time. For now, we leave him there, on the throne, in the warmth of his land, holding a quiet power, a king not yet known to the world, but soon he would be, very soon. Long after Musa took the throne, the Mali Empire grew quietly but surely. The land was vast, stretching from the forests of the south to the edges of the Sahara Desert. This was no small kingdom, it was a realm waiting to be shaped. Musa understood that power needed steady, deep roots. He worked gently to bind the people and lands closer. Mali expanded not through violence but through patience, alliances, and careful planning. Under his rule, the towns and cities within Mali's reach began to flourish. Niani, the capital, grew calm and prosperous. Markets opened wider. Traders arrived from distant lands, bringing salt, cloth, and ideas. Mali became a crossroads where different worlds met softly, exchanging goods and stories. Musa's rule was marked by order. He appointed trusted governors to oversee provinces. These men ensured peace and fair trade. They listened to local leaders and respected customs. The empire did not crush its neighbors, it embraced them. Slowly, Mali's influence spread like a gentle river reaching new lands. The rich gold mines of Bambouk and Bouré became even more important. They fed Mali's wealth quietly but steadily. Gold was not hoarded. It was used to build trust among merchants and rulers. Musa knew gold could bind friendships as much as it could buy power. Under his watch, trade routes across the Sahara were safeguarded. Caravans crossed deserts with less fear. Camels moved slowly, laden with salt and gold, connecting Mali to cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and beyond. These routes were veins of life for the empire. With wealth came responsibility. Musa's heart seemed to carry both the weight and the grace of his people's hopes. He was not a distant king. He walked among his people with quiet dignity. His presence was a soft reassurance in uncertain times. He supported scholars and built mosques. Timbuktu became more than a trading town. It blossomed into a center of learning and faith. Manuscripts were copied carefully. Teachers shared knowledge under the shade of ancient trees. Faith and wisdom grew side by side, like gentle flowers in a desert oasis. Musa's generosity was known far and wide. He gave to the poor and welcomed strangers. His court was a place where justice was calm and firm. He did not seek glory with loud proclamations. Instead, his deeds whispered through the desert winds, carried by traders and travelers. As the empire grew, Musa faced challenges too. Managing such a vast land was no small task, yet he moved slowly and deliberately, like a river shaping its course through the earth. He balanced tradition with change, strength with kindness. Neighboring kingdoms watched Mali quietly. Some sought friendship, others warily observed. But Musa's Mali stood firm, its foundation laid on faith, trade, and respect. The empire was a mosaic of peoples and cultures held together by shared purpose. Trade with North Africa and beyond has increased. Gold and salt flowed steadily. But it was not just goods that traveled. Ideas, religion, and art moved along these routes. Mali became part of a larger world, connected though distant. Musa's leadership was a soft but steady force. He chose wise counselors and listened to their advice. Decisions were made with care. The empire's expansion was measured, not rushed. This slow growth allowed Mali to absorb new lands without breaking. At this time, Mali's borders stretched, and its power reached farther. The empire's reputation grew like a quiet fire burning beneath the sand. The name Mali became known from the Atlantic coast to the Mediterranean. Yet Musa never forgot the desert's silence. The soft shift of sands reminded him of time's passage. He ruled not just for himself, but for generations yet to come. His vision was vast but gentle, like the earth's slow turning beneath the stars. As we move deeper into history, we see how Musa's steady hand shaped Mali's rise. It was a rise built on patience, faith, and quiet strength, a rise that would soon capture the world's imagination. And very soon, Musa would take a journey that would mark Mali forever. It was a pilgrimage that was more than a walk of faith. It was a statement, a story told in gold and kindness. But for now, Mali stands strong, quietly gathering its strength. It is a kingdom ready to shine under the soft glow of the sun and the watchful eyes of a king who knew the true meaning of power. Silently, the empire grew. Slowly, it prepared to change the world. And so the rise of Mali under Mansa Musa was not thunder or storm, but the steady breath of the desert wind, soft, enduring, and profound. Gold and salt are two simple elements that shape the heart of Mali's wealth. They are like the sun and moon, each with its own place and purpose. Gold glimmers beneath the earth, and salt sparkles like ice in the heat. Together they tell a story of balance and power. Mali was rich in gold. Deep in its soil, golden nuggets waited silently. Mines like Bambouk and Bure yielded steady treasures. The gold was not just metal, it was the lifeblood of trade and trust. People saw it and felt the promise of prosperity. Salt was equally precious. It came from the northern deserts. Though it seemed plain, salt was vital. It preserved food, kept bodies healthy, and was worth its weight in gold. Caravans carried salt southward across harsh sands and quiet nights. Trade routes wove through the land like soft veins. Traders moved slowly, step by step. Camels bore heavy loads over dusty paths. They traveled between kingdoms and across borders. Mali stood at the center, a gentle hub of exchange. Musa's empire grew richer with each passing year. Gold from the south met salt from the north. Together they fueled markets and shaped lives. Mali became a place where wealth was not hoarded but shared. The cities buzzed softly with activity. Timbuktu, Djenné, and Gao rose as jewels along the Niger River. They were places of learning and commerce. Markets overflowed with goods from distant lands, ivory, textiles, spices, and more. Each item told a story of connection. Musa understood the delicate dance of trade. He knew the importance of steady hands and fair words. He protected caravans, ensured safety on roads, and welcomed merchants. Mali's wealth was built on trust as much as gold. The empire's riches flowed quietly but powerfully. Gold was melted into coins and bars, given as gifts, and used to build grand mosques and schools. Salt was distributed among the people, a reminder of the empire's care. Through trade, Mali connected with North Africa and beyond. Ideas and culture traveled alongside goods. Islam spread gently, carried by scholars and traders. Faith and commerce walked hand in hand. Musa's rule saw not only material wealth but spiritual growth. The empire became a beacon of culture and learning. Libraries gathered ancient texts, students studied under palm trees, scholars debated softly in shaded courtyards. The balance of gold and salt was more than economics. It was the rhythm of life in Mali. It sustained families and strengthened communities, allowing Musa to rule with quiet confidence. Gold and salt were gifts of the earth and the desert. Their value was woven into daily life and dreams of the future. Mali's wealth was a song sung softly across the sands and rivers. Mansa Musa ruled with quiet strength. His vision was clear but gentle, like the soft glow of dawn. He saw Mali as a land of gold and a place of people, faith, and knowledge. He understood that true power comes from wisdom, patience, and care. His leadership was not harsh or loud. It was steady and thoughtful. Generosity marked Musa's rule. He gave freely to his people and to strangers alike. His kindness was a river flowing softly through the empire, nourishing trust and loyalty. Musa believed a king's wealth should serve the people. Gold was not to be hidden but shared. It built schools, mosques, and homes. It helped the poor and welcomed travelers. His strategy was simple yet profound. Strengthen the bonds between the empire's many peoples, support trade and faith, and build a kingdom that would last beyond his years. He appointed wise men to guide the provinces. He listened to their counsel and respected local customs, so each region felt valued and connected. Musa's court was calm and just. He ruled with a gentle hand, ensuring fairness and peace. His presence was a quiet reassurance. Education flourished under his care. Scholars from near and far came to study. Manuscripts were copied by candlelight, knowledge preserved like precious gold. He saw Timbuktu not just as a trading hub, but as a beacon of learning. Under his watchful eye, the city's mosques and libraries grew. Faith was central to Musa's life. Islam guided his decisions and actions. Prayer was his compass. His famous pilgrimage to Mecca was an act of devotion and diplomacy. It showed the world Mali's wealth and faith combined. But even as he traveled with gold and grandeur, Musa remained humble. He walked softly, a servant to his people and his faith. His leadership was a balance of strength and grace, like the river Niger, flowing steady through the land. He planned for Mali's future, not just its present. His vision stretched beyond borders and time. Musa's generosity inspired loyalty and respect. His wisdom brought stability to a diverse empire. His strategies allowed Mali to grow, connecting distant lands with trade and faith. Through quiet acts and thoughtful choices, Musa built an empire that whispered its power softly. As we move deeper into history, we uncover the foundations of an empire that dazzled the world. The Mali Empire rose slowly, like dawn breaking over a quiet desert. It was built not on noise, but on steady strength and wise leadership. The land itself shaped the empire. Rivers flowed gently, carrying life and trade. The Niger River was Mali's lifeline, winding through forests and plains. It nourished crops and brought people together. Towns and villages clustered along its banks. each adding its voice to the growing chorus of Mali. Gold lay hidden beneath the earth, shimmering softly. Salt came from distant deserts, carried carefully by camel caravans. These two treasures balanced each other, like night and day. Together, they formed the wealth that gave Mali its power. Trade routes stretched across vast distances. Traders moved slowly, their camels' footsteps whispering against the sand. From North Africa to the Atlantic, goods and ideas flowed. Mali became a crossroads where cultures met and mingled. Mansa Musa understood the delicate dance of power and peace. His vision was calm but far-reaching. He sought not just to rule but to build a lasting home for his people. He welcomed scholars and craftsmen. Timbuktu and Jenne blossomed into centers of learning and faith. Mosques rose, their walls echoing with prayers and wisdom. Libraries held books written on fragile parchment, preserved with care. Musa's generosity was a quiet force. He gave gold to the poor and built schools. His gifts were not meant to show off, but to strengthen the bonds among his people. His leadership was like water, soft but shaping everything it touched. Governors ruled distant provinces with respect and fairness. Local customs were honored, even as the empire grew. This gentle rule united the many people of Mali. The empire's wealth was real, but Musa knew it was not the only treasure. Faith and knowledge were just as precious. Islam guided his actions, giving him purpose beyond gold. He planned for the future, slowly and carefully. Mali was not just a kingdom of riches, it was a kingdom of ideas and faith. Mali's foundations grew stronger as the sun set on one era and rose on another. It was an empire ready to face the world, and Musa's journey was only beginning. Peak power and lifestyle. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 was unlike any journey before it. It was more than a religious duty. It was a quiet statement whispered softly across continents. The caravan moved slowly, deliberately, like a river flowing through the vast deserts of West Africa and beyond. Each step was both a prayer and a message. The procession was immense, and scholars estimate it included tens of thousands of people. Soldiers marched with calm discipline. Servants carried supplies. Hundreds of camels bore sacks of gold, food, and gifts. The gentle sound of camel footsteps blended with the low murmur of prayers beneath the vast open sky. Musa traveled humbly despite his immense wealth. His faith was carried as tenderly as his treasures. This king was devoted not to flaunting power, but to honoring God and connecting Mali with the wider Muslim world. Each day on the road was filled with quiet devotion and reflection. The caravan crossed endless deserts. The sand shimmered in soft waves beneath the sun. Nights were cool and calm. Stars shone like scattered diamonds overhead, guiding travelers through the silence. The desert seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the journey. As the caravan advanced, word of Musa's wealth spread. Towns and cities awaited him in gentle anticipation. People gathered quietly, eyes wide with wonder, to see the king who carried gold as if it were sunlight itself. His arrival was not a shout, but a soft awe felt deeply. Musa's generosity was a quiet force throughout the journey. He distributed gold to the poor, helped build wells, and supported fellow travelers. His gifts were like small rivers flowing gently through the desert, nourishing those who crossed his path. When the caravan reached Cairo, the city was stirred in hushed whispers. Musa's lavish and slow spending caused gold's value to soften for a time. Coins gleamed more brightly, but their worth shifted like the desert breeze. This was wealth not hoarded, but shared with care and wisdom. Yet Musa's aim was not wealth or show, it was faith. The Hajj was a sacred journey, a duty embraced with quiet solemnity. His pilgrimage declared Mali's place in the tapestry of Muslim lands. It was a soft voice saying, "We are here, we belong." The pilgrimage unfolded slowly. Days passed filled with prayer and rest. The caravan's presence became a gentle bridge between worlds, Africa and Arabia, wealth and spirituality. It was a connection woven through time and sand. Musa's journey was more than travel. It was a statement made without words. It spoke of a ruler who governed with wisdom, humility, and kindness. He understood that true power is found in giving, not in possession. The road to Mecca stretched endlessly. It carried Musa across deserts, over hills, and through bustling cities. Each step was a meditation, and each moment held deep meaning. Behind him, Mali waited quietly. The empire was observed as their king moved softly through history. His pilgrimage would forever change how the world viewed them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the caravan pressed onward, steady and sure. Lanterns flickered in the desert night, casting gentle light on the path. A king moved quietly toward his sacred destiny, his heart full of faith and hope. This slow and deliberate journey became a legend whispered through centuries. The soft sands still hold echoes of camels' footsteps and prayers carried on the wind. Musa's pilgrimage was a gentle ripple that spread far beyond the desert's edge. It shaped how distant lands saw Mali as a source of gold and a kingdom of faith and wisdom. As the caravan crossed the sea and reached Mecca, the soft murmur of prayers filled the air. Musa stood humbly among pilgrims, his soul serene and full. His journey was a quiet triumph, a testament to faith's power to connect and uplift. It was a moment where the vastness of Mali met the sacred heart of Islam. The pilgrimage was not hurried or loud. It was a slow unfolding of devotion and dignity, a reminder that even the richest among us move gently when guided by faith. And so, Musa's sacred journey became a chapter in Mali's story, written softly with golden grace. The caravan's footsteps faded into memory, but their impact rippled across time. This quiet act of faith illuminated Mali's golden age, shining like a distant star in the night. Or, we need to talk more about the caravans that followed Mansa Musa, because their size alone whispered a story of quiet grandeur. It was a procession unlike any other, stretching slowly across deserts and cities, a gentle wave of people and camels moving with soft purpose. The caravan numbered in the tens of thousands. Soldiers marched with calm steps, their faces steady beneath the hot sun. Servants carried food, water, and tents. Hundreds of camels bore heavy sacks filled with gold and gifts meant for the places Musa would visit. Gold was carried carefully, not hurriedly. It gleamed softly in the light, a treasure that moved like liquid sunlight. Musa's generosity was silent but vast. He gave gold to the poor in towns along the way, his gifts tokens of faith and friendship. In Cairo, the caravan's arrival caused a quiet stir. Gold coins changed hands gently but steadily. The city's wealth felt the touch of Musa's gifts. Gold's value shifted softly like the desert wind. Its rarity felt deeply. His spending left ripples that lingered long after he moved on. Musa's gifts were not mere displays. They were acts of kindness, a way to bind distant lands with ties of respect. He built wells and supported travelers, ensuring his journey was one of care, not just a show. The sheer size of the caravan inspired awe. People whispered about the king who traveled with a moving city. His followers included scholars, priests, soldiers, and servants, all walking with quiet purpose toward a sacred goal. The procession's pace was slow and deliberate. Each step was measured, filled with prayers and reflection. The desert stretched endlessly, yet the caravan's movement was steady, like a heartbeat in the vast silence. News of Musa's wealth spread beyond the sands. Tales reached distant lands, a king from far away carrying gold like the sun itself. The world began to see Mali in a new light, not just as a source of riches, but as a kingdom of faith and generosity. Along the route, Musa's caravan stopped in towns and cities. In each place, he shared his wealth gently. His gifts nourished people and strengthened ties, and the soft glow of gold warmed the hearts of strangers. His generosity was quiet but powerful. It created connections that bridged great distances. Through giving, Musa built an empire that was held together by more than just wealth. The caravan moved on, leaving behind stories whispered on the wind. People remembered the king who gave without boasting. They felt the touch of his kindness in the places he passed. Musa's pilgrimage was more than a journey. It was a soft illumination of Mali's greatness, a gentle reminder that true power is found in faith and generosity. As the procession continued toward Mecca, its slow rhythm became a symbol, a sign of an empire shining quietly beneath the sun and a king walking softly through history. The caravan's footsteps faded, but its memory lingered, a tale told softly across continents, carried on the breath of desert winds. The court of Mansa Musa was located in the heart of Mali, behind tall wooden gates and sun-warmed walls. It was not built to shout power. It whispered, gently, softly. The halls were wide and quiet, carved from stone and wood. The air smelled of incense, sandalwood, frankincense. Trees shaded the courtyards. Birds sang softly in the branches. The breeze moved slowly, as if it too was calm. Inside the palace, voices did not rise. People spoke with care, with respect. Every word held weight. Gold was everywhere, but never loud. It lined doors, trimmed robes, framed windows. It gleamed gently in candlelight. Cloth from Cairo, from Fez, from the east, draped the walls, soft silks, heavy wool, colorful dyes that seemed to breathe in the sun. Musa's court was not only a seat of wealth, it was a home for the mind. Scholars came from faraway cities. They brought books wrapped in cloth. Some were written in Arabic, and others were copied by hand. They read under the shade of fig trees. Their words danced like soft wind, and their ideas moved like water through the air. Musa welcomed them. He sat with them. He listened. His throne was not far, it was near. He asked questions about stars, about medicine, about law. He gave gold not only to kings, but to knowledge. He built schools and libraries. He invited teachers to stay, fed them, protected them, gave them rooms in the palace. Children studied scripture beside courtiers. Young men memorized verses beneath open skies. The Quran echoed in the halls. Its words are woven into the life of the court. Faith shaped Musa's world, not with force, but with peace. He built tall and still mosques. Some have mud walls, red and warm, and others are lined with stone. People came to pray, to breathe, to listen. The mosques became more than places of worship. They were spaces to learn, to gather, and to reflect. Timbuktu became the crown of this vision, a city where traders, teachers, and travelers crossed paths. Its streets were dusty, but full. Its markets are busy, yet hushed. At Sankore, a mosque became a university. Thousands of manuscripts rested there, math books, on poetry, on law, all copied carefully by hand. Scribes worked by lamplight. Their fingers were stained with ink. Their eyes are steady. The court sent funds, more paper, more pens, more care. In Musa's court, learning was a treasure, not stored in vaults, but shared freely. Some poets recited in the evenings, verses slow, deliberate, like footsteps in sand. Some storytellers recalled the past, who reminded the court where they had come from. Some judges settled matters with calm words and clear minds. Gold passed through the court, but it did not stay long. Musa gave it away with ease, to the poor, to the learned, to guests from other lands. His wealth did not harden him, it softened him. He dressed richly, yes, but always with meaning. Robes stitched with patience. Sandals are simple and clean. He greeted strangers with grace. His eyes were steady. His voice was calm. He listened more than he spoke. He led not just with power, but with peace. This was the court of Mansa Musa, a court where books stood beside gold, where prayer filled the same air as poetry, where the future was being written, quietly, page by page, word by word. And all around, Molly listened, and learned, and grew. It was not the size of the court that mattered, but its heart, and its silence full of thought, full of life, full of light. Mansa Musa's vision took form beneath a vast and blue sky in the quiet heart of Timbuktu, which seemed to hold all the secrets of the world. He saw a city rich in gold, knowledge, and faith, a place where minds could meet and spirits could grow. Musa's hands guided the building of mosques that rose slowly from the earth. Their walls were made from sun-baked mud and sturdy timber, glowing warmly under the African sun. These mosques were more than stones and wood. They were silent prayers reaching the sky, calling people to come together in peace and devotion. The Jingareber Mosque was a shining example of Musa's devotion and care among these sacred buildings. Built with patience and skill, its walls and arches welcomed scholars and worshippers alike. Inside, soft voices recited prayers and verses, while flickering candles cast gentle shadows on ancient walls. But Musa's gifts were not limited to grand buildings alone. He filled libraries with manuscripts, delicate pages covered in elegant script. These books held the wisdom of mathematics, astronomy, law, and poetry. They were treasures as precious as the gold that made Mali famous, carefully preserved to pass knowledge from generation to generation. Learning centers grew across Timbuktu, becoming beacons of light in the vast desert. Scholars traveled from faraway lands, drawn by the promise of study and contemplation. The city transformed from a simple trading hub into a cradle of culture and faith. The air was filled with the quiet hum of study. Softly spoken lessons floated on the warm breeze. Fingers traced the curves of carefully written letters. Knowledge flowed steadily, like a calm river, nourishing the soul of the empire. Musa supported these scholars not just with gold, but with protection and respect. He built schools where young minds could flourish beneath the shade of palm trees. The king's court welcomed poets and philosophers who wove their words into the tapestry of Mali's identity. Musa understood that true power was not only found in gold, but in the spirit and mind of his people. His heart beat in rhythm with these quiet acts of generosity and learning. The mosque stood firm, silent but strong, anchoring the city and the empire in faith and unity. Each prayer whispered through their halls deepened Mali's soul. Culture blossomed quietly, like flowers blooming after the rain. Mali's golden age was painted with the soft brushstrokes of faith, knowledge, and peace. The construction of these sacred places was slow, deliberate, and full of love and meaning. Each brick and beam held stories of devotion, hope, and harmony. Timbuktu became a sanctuary where faith met knowledge, a place where the empire's future was nurtured in moments of quiet study and prayer. Musa's legacy rested gently upon these foundations, still alive in the soft rustle of manuscript pages and the gentle call to prayer that rises with the desert wind. The king's generosity reached beyond his lands. His support for learning and faith echoed across Africa and beyond, shaping how the world saw Mali. The mosques and learning centers were not just buildings. They were living symbols of an empire's heart, beating softly beneath the sun's heat. Teachers and students gathered, their voices blending into the peaceful rhythm of the city. Poetry was spoken, laws debated, and stars studied in the calm of the evening. Mali's culture thrived quietly, nourished by Musa's vision. He knew that empires built on gold alone do not last, but those built on knowledge and faith endure through time. The libraries housed wisdom from distant lands. Scholars shared ideas that crossed borders and deserts. Mali became a crossroads not only of trade, but of thought and spirit. This flourishing of culture and education was Musa's gift to his people, a treasure more lasting than gold. As the sun set softly on Timbuktu, the city glowed gently, a light born not from wealth alone, but from the quiet power of learning and faith. The sacred buildings, the manuscripts, the scholars, they carried Mali's story forward silently, steadily, and with deep grace. In these peaceful places, the empire's soul grew stronger. Each prayer and lesson was a thread in the vast tapestry of Mali's golden age. And so, the legacy of Mansa Musa's court was not only in riches, but in the quiet flourishing of a people's mind and spirit. Again, Mansa Musa's pilgrimage and the grandeur of his empire rippled quietly beyond Mali's borders. His journey was not just a personal act of faith, it became a soft, shining thread woven into the fabric of global history. The world watched in hushed awe as news spread of a king who traveled with gold like the sun itself. Across continents, people marveled at the wealth carried by Musa's caravan. This wealth was not loud or boastful. It was steady, like a slow-moving river nourishing lands far away. In cities like Cairo, the subtle impact of Musa's gifts was felt deeply. Gold flooded markets gently, changing the value of currency for years. Prices softened. Trade patterns shifted in ways few understood at the time. The world's economy had felt a quiet tremor. But the effect was more than economic. The arrival of Mali's wealth in distant lands reshaped how people saw Africa. No longer was it just a distant place of mystery. It became known as a land of riches, culture, and faith. Musa's empire stepped softly into the global stage, its presence felt not through war but generosity and wisdom. The gold he shared was a message. Mali was a kingdom of dignity and grace. The whispers of his journey carried stories of a king who valued learning and faith as much as wealth. Scholars from Mali mingled with those from the Middle East and beyond. Ideas traveled alongside goods, building bridges of understanding. Europeans and Arabs alike began to map West Africa's riches with new eyes. Timbuktu, once a distant name, symbolized learning and culture. Mali's golden age slowly unfolded in the minds of many. Yet, the changes were subtle. The world's view of Africa did not transform overnight. It was a gentle awakening, like dawn creeping softly over a sleeping land. Musa's pilgrimage reminded distant lands that Africa held more than gold. It held stories, faith, and knowledge. This quiet truth began to reshape perceptions, gently but surely. Trade routes thrived as Mali's reputation grew. Merchants spoke of the kingdom with respect and admiration. Mali was a partner in a vast, interconnected world. The soft power of Musa's wealth and faith reached far beyond what coins could buy. It was felt in respect given, in doors opened, and in bridges built across cultures. Though time would later cloud these truths, Musa's reign's impact whispered through history. It shaped the course of economies and the stories people told about Africa. And so, the king who walked with gold and faith left a legacy that was as much about changing hearts as it was about treasure. The gentle ripples of his pilgrimage still touch us today, inviting quiet reflection on wealth, power, and the true value of giving. Let us now turn to a quieter tragedy that shadows even the brightest legacy. Mansa Musa's reign shone with wealth and wisdom. Yet beneath this glow lay challenges soft but persistent. The empire's golden age was not without its shadows. The vast riches, so carefully gathered and shared, also carried risks. Gold, like water, could both nourish and erode. When Musa distributed gold freely on his pilgrimage, the value of the precious metal gently shifted. In cities like Cairo, markets felt the subtle tremor. Gold's worth softened, rippling through economies far and near. This quiet disruption was not a loud disaster. It was a slow unfolding, like shadows lengthening at dusk. It reminded all that even great wealth must be managed with care. Within Mali, the vast empire began to face new pressures. Managing distant lands, many people, and growing wealth required constant vigilance. The bonds that held Mali together were strong yet fragile. Provinces needed steady leadership, and trade routes demanded protection. Musa's successors would inherit both fortune and responsibility, a delicate balance between power and peace. As wealth grew, so did expectations. The empire's neighbors watched carefully. Some sought friendship, others eyed Mali with caution. Internal challenges surfaced gently but clearly. Managing such a vast realm was no small task. Trade remained the empire's lifeline, yet it was vulnerable. Caravans crossing deserts faced dangers seen and unseen. Still, Mali's culture flourished softly. Learning and faith continued to grow, lighting the empire's soul. Yet the quiet strain of holding such greatness hinted at change. Even the brightest stars may flicker in the vast night sky. Once a gentle river, the empire's wealth could become a restless tide. Mansa Musa's legacy was grand, but history moves gently and steadily. So Mali's story unfolds not only in gold and glory, but also in the silent struggles that come with great power. This quieter tragedy is woven softly into the fabric of Mali's history, waiting to be heard beneath the desert's endless sigh. Conflict, collapse, or corruption. As we move deeper into history, the gentle light of Mansa Musa's reign begins to soften. The golden glow fades quietly, revealing shadows beneath the surface. The story of wealth is never without its complexities, and even the brightest fortunes can cast long, soft shadows. Mansa Musa was known for his unmatched generosity. On his pilgrimage to Mecca, he carried gold in abundance, given freely along the way. He shared wealth with towns and cities, with strangers and friends alike. Yet gold, like water flowing through the desert, must be carefully balanced. Too much, too fast, and its value can change. After Musa's pilgrimage, the value of gold gently shifted. Cities like Cairo felt the subtle tremor. Markets experienced a slow and steady fall in the value of gold. The precious metal became less rare and less treasured as it spread widely. This was not a sudden crash, but a quiet ripple across economies. The river of wealth swelled, then overflowed softly. Within Mali, the balance of fortune grew fragile. The gold that had brought prosperity also carried hidden challenges. Managing such great wealth required care and wisdom as much as strength. The vast and diverse empire needed steady hands to guide it through changing tides. Trade routes still hummed with activity, caravans crossing deserts with patient feet. Yet the gentle disruption in gold's value whispered a warning. Neighboring kingdoms watched closely, their eyes filled with hope and caution. Wealth, which once bound Mali's neighbors in respect, now sparked tension beneath the surface. Mali's rulers faced these new realities with a quiet struggle after Musa. The great fortune he left behind became a source of strain rather than security. Once tightly woven by shared wealth, the empire began to pull apart gently. The vast lands of Mali required constant attention. Provinces needed resources and leadership, but as gold's flow became less predictable, some lost sight of careful governance. Ambitions grew, and with them, subtle discord. The once steady river of power began to ripple with unrest, yet Mali's culture and faith endured like a steady flame. Scholars continued their work in the silent courtyards of Timbuktu, and mosques echoed with quiet prayers. The heart of Mali beat gently beneath the growing weight of change. The soft disturbance in gold's value was a lesson whispered by time. Even the greatest fortunes, if unbalanced, can unsettle the calm. Power given too freely may invite fragility. Wealth that flows like a flood can erode foundations softly, without a sound. Mansa Musa's reign was a peak, bright and steady, but every peak holds its valleys. Every moment of shining light carries the seed of shadow within it. The empire's decline was not sudden, but slow, like the desert night stretching toward dawn. History's murmur of struggles both within and beyond Mali's borders. Internal challenges, the pressures of distant foes, shifts in trade, all these were soft echoes in the great expanse. Their impact was felt more than heard, like the gentle wind stirring dry leaves. Mali's story reminds us that wealth, even in great abundance, must be handled with care. Generosity alone cannot hold an empire together without wisdom to guide it. Musa's legacy was both a blessing and a warning. The golden age under Musa was a time of beauty, faith, and learning. Yet even beauty is fleeting, fading into memory and sand. The empire's vast riches, once a river of light, became a quiet burden. The aftermath of Musa's generosity shaped Mali's future in subtle ways. It taught balance, patience, and humility lessons written softly in the shifting sands. Beneath the silence of the desert, these lessons wait still, waiting for those who listen gently to the breath of history to hear what the quiet winds have to say. As we move deeper into history, the gentle glow of Mali's golden age begins to wane. The empire that once shimmered softly beneath the sun now faces the slow, quiet pull of change. Mali's vast, rich, and diverse lands stretch far and wide. Managing them was a delicate task, like balancing stones in a river. Internal challenges rose gently yet steadily beneath the surface. After Mansa Musa's reign, leadership grew less certain. Successors struggled to hold the empire's threads together. Power passed quietly from hand to hand, but the grip weakened. Provinces grew restless. Local rulers sought more freedom, soft cracks forming in the empire's unity. The distant court's voice grew faint to those far away. Trade routes, once carefully guarded, faced new threats. Bandits and rival kingdoms watched the empire's vast wealth with quiet hunger. Caravans sometimes faltered in the harsh desert winds. External pressures pressed on Mali's borders. Neighboring kingdoms tested its strength. Conflicts arose, not with loud battle cries, but with measured steps and careful strategies. The empire's vast gold mines, which once fed its steady wealth, began to lose their steady flow. New sources of gold appeared elsewhere, softly shifting the centers of power. Mali's heart, rich in culture and faith, beats quietly, but the empire's political fabric stretched thin. Some scholars note that Mali's decline was slow, almost silent, like a river changing its course beneath the sand. The unity Musa built with patience and care faced challenges from within and without. Power struggles emerged among the ruling class. Family disputes were whispered in palace halls, and ambitions grew like weeds in fertile soil. Yet, amidst this, Mali's people held on to their traditions. Faith and learning remained steady lights in uncertain times. Trade continued, though the paths were more fragile. Merchants still crossed deserts, guided by stars and hope. But the empire's reach began to shrink softly, like twilight fading at the edge of day. Mali's story is one of gentle resilience and quiet fragility. It reminds us that even the greatest empires must navigate the delicate balance of power, peace, and change. The golden age under Musa was brilliant, but all light must eventually soften. And so, the vast empire that once dazzled the world began its slow, whispered descent into history's sands. Even as we move deeper into history, a quiet truth begins to surface about great wealth. It glows softly yet carries a delicate weight. Mansa Musa's riches stretched across the land like golden sunlight, but even the brightest gold can cast long, gentle shadows. Wealth is like a river, flowing slowly and steadily through the desert, but it can wear down the banks that hold it when it floods too fast. Once a calm and nourishing stream, Mali's fortune began to reveal this fragile balance. Musa's generosity brought light to many. He shared gold freely, building schools and mosques and feeding the poor. His gifts were acts of kindness, soft as a desert breeze. Yet these gifts also changed the world around them, shifting the value of gold and unsettling far-off markets. Gold's worth softened over the years in cities like Cairo and beyond. What was once rare and precious became more common. This gentle shift was not a sudden crash, but a slow ripple, like sand shifting beneath calm waters. Power can tip the scales when held tightly or given too freely. It can invite unrest where once there was peace. Within Mali, the bonds that held the empire began to loosen. Provinces grew restless, seeking freedom from distant rulers. The vastness of the empire made control harder to maintain. Leaders who followed Musa inherited a kingdom that was both rich and fragile. They bore the weight of his legacy, an empire built on shifting sands. The great fortune that once united Mali became a source of strain, pulling softly at its edges. Neighboring kingdoms watched Mali with quiet eyes. Some admired, some envied, and others prepared. Threats crept not with loud war cries, but with soft maneuvers and careful plotting. Trade routes, the empire's lifelines, faced growing dangers. Bandits and rival kingdoms challenged the once safe paths. Caravans crossed deserts with increasing caution, their slow footsteps echoing uncertainty. Mali's heart, rich with culture and faith, beats gently. Scholars study in Timbuktu, where mosques are filled with prayer and traditions are held strong. But beneath this steady pulse lies a quiet tension. History whispers of struggles both within and beyond Mali's borders. Internal power struggles softened the empire's core. Family disputes and ambitions stirred behind palace walls. These were not storms, but gentle winds slowly reshaping the landscape. Yet, Amidst these trials, Mali's people held on to their faith and knowledge. Learning remained a light in the dusk, guiding them through uncertain times. Trade continued, though the paths were more fragile. Merchants still moved with hope, guided by stars and ancient wisdom. The empire's reach began to shrink slowly, like twilight fading over the horizon. Mali's story became one of gentle resilience and quiet fragility. It reminds us that even the greatest empires must balance power, peace, and change. Musa's golden age was brilliant, but not eternal. Every peak has its valleys, and every moment of light contains the seed of shadow. The aftermath of great wealth is often soft and slow, like sand slipping through fingers. It teaches that generosity and power must be balanced with care and patience. The legacy of Mali's greatness is woven with both light and shadow. The empire's golden river flowed quietly into history, carrying lessons that echo beneath the desert stars. And so, the story of Mali unfolds, not only in riches, but also in the fragile dance between strength and loss. It is a story whispered softly by time, waiting to be heard by those who listen with gentle hearts. As we continue to tell these tales of gold, dust, and lost treasure, the mystery of lost treasure weaves softly through time and place. Mansa Musa's great wealth, dazzling as the desert sun, now drifts quietly in the folds of forgotten stories. What became of all that gold? Where did it go? And what secrets does it hold beneath the sand? The riches of Mali were vast, yet much of that treasure slipped away with the slow passage of years. Some say gold was hidden in secret vaults, buried beneath silent dunes, waiting to be found by patient hands. Others believe it was taken, quietly plundered by rival kingdoms and invaders who came softly like shadows in the night. The empire's decline was not marked by loud battles or great destruction. Instead, it was a gentle fading, like the slow ebb of a river retreating into the earth. Gold that once fueled the power of Mali became scattered like grains of sand, lost among the shifting desert winds. Legends whisper of hidden caches deep beneath the earth, where gold glimmers still in the darkness. Forgotten wells, ancient caves, and ruined cities hold secrets to be uncovered. These treasures are silent now, but their stories echo softly in the desert air. This tale is not unique to Mali. Across the world, empires have risen and fallen, leaving behind mysteries of lost wealth. One such story is that of Atlantis, a city said to have vanished beneath the waves, a civilization of unimaginable beauty and power, swallowed quietly by the sea, leaving only whispers and wonder. Atlantis, like Mali, fascinates us because it reminds us of the fragility of greatness. Its treasure, too, vanished, not by thunder or fire, but by silent, unstoppable forces. The city's real or mythic riches speak to a universal truth. No matter how mighty, wealth can be lost. The Incas offer another tale of vanished treasure. Their golden city of Machu Picchu hid beneath mountain mists, beyond reach for centuries. When the Spanish arrived, much gold was lost or taken, scattered across new worlds. The echoes of that wealth remain only in stories and fading legends. Mali's gold, once flowing like a river of light, began to dwindle in the markets. The vast wealth that held the empire's power gently softened, diluted by time and change. The empire's firm grip on its fortune loosened as internal and external pressures mounted. Yet, even as gold was lost or scattered, Mali's soul endured. Its culture, faith, and knowledge persisted quietly, a steady flame in the desert night. The lessons of wealth's fragility echoed softly through generations, reminding all who listened of the delicate balance between prosperity and loss. Mansa Musa's story remains wrapped in these mysteries. His vast riches, partly hidden by history's sands, still invite wonder and reflection. The treasures lost and found remind us of life's impermanence and the gentle passage of time. Across centuries and continents, these stories ask us to ponder a soft question: what truly remains when gold and glory fade? Is it the treasure itself, or the spirit and memory carried quietly by those who come after? As we listen closely to these ancient whispers, we find a shared human longing to protect beauty, hold on to light, and understand the fragile dance of fortune and fate. The gold of Mali, the lost city of Atlantis, and the vanished treasures of the Incas are threads in a vast tapestry. They remind us that history is not just about riches, but the slow, silent flow of time and the stories that endure beyond it. So the treasures lie hidden, some buried deep beneath the sand, others beneath the waves or mountain mists. They call those with patient hearts and gentle hands to seek gold and the wisdom that comes with knowing how fragile even the greatest fortunes can be. In these quiet stories, there is a soft lesson that wealth, no matter how mighty, is only one part of a larger story, a story of light, shadow, loss, and the enduring hope carried softly on the desert wind. Now, slowly, gently and calmly, we've seen the wealth of a great man, one of the greatest to ever walk this airy, sunny and cloudy earth. Like the waters he flows, like the Niger River flowing out of the great empire he built. In the exact moment when Mansa Musa, the great emperor of Mali, passed from this world, remains wrapped in a soft, gentle mystery. It is a secret kept by time, hidden beneath history's shifting sands. Like whispers carried on a desert breeze, the details of his final days are elusive, faint echoes that invite reflection rather than certainty. One of the few voices that guides us through this quiet haze is that of Ibn Khaldun, a scholar whose pen tried to capture the lives of kings and empires long ago. He tells us that by counting the years of rule back from the death of Mansa Suleiman in 1360, Musa's reign ended in 1332. But the story is never so simple. There is a softness and uncertainty that clings like dust on a forgotten path. Ibn Khaldun also shares a delicate piece of history. Musa had sent a messenger to congratulate Abu al-Hasan Ali on his victory at Tlemcen in May 1337. Yet, when Abu al-Hasan replied, Musa was no longer among the living. Suleiman, a new ruler, had taken his place. This subtle detail suggests Musa's departure came closer to 1337, extending the gentle reach of his life beyond earlier estimates. There is another voice in the quiet from al-Umari, writing just over a decade after Musa's famous pilgrimage. He paints a tender picture. Musa returned to Mali with a plan to step down, to leave the throne behind and live his final days in Mecca's peaceful embrace. But fate, as it often does, whispered a different ending. Musa passed away before he could fulfill this wish. This narrative hints that his death may have come earlier than 1332. History, like the desert, is a landscape of shifting sands. Sometimes it blends names and stories, weaving them into one. Some scholars suggest that Musa's son Magan congratulated Abu al-Hasan or received the reply after Musa's passing. Ibn Khaldun's writings show a tender confusion, calling Suleiman Musa's son when Suleiman was more likely Musa's brother. These slips remind us how fragile and fluid memory can be, how easily it blends fact with the shadows of the past. There is also the quiet possibility that Magan ruled softly while Musa was away on his long pilgrimage, stepping into power only briefly before his father's return. This gentle dance of power and duty is like a ripple on still water, quiet, subtle, but undeniably present. It carries the grace of a family navigating the tides of fate together. Modern scholar Nehemiah Levtzion leans toward 1337 as the most likely year Musa left this life. This date floats like a soft sigh across the vast expanse of time and has been accepted by many who study the history of Mali. Yet even this is more of a gentle suggestion than a firm conclusion. The uncertainty surrounding Musa's death is more than a simple fact. It symbolizes the fragility of human memory and the delicate nature of even the greatest lives. The past often hides its deepest secrets, offering us stories that invite wonder and imagination rather than clear answers. Imagine the great empire of Mali, once a shining jewel beneath the vast African sky, now silent, its golden cities swallowed by time's gentle embrace. The king who ruled with wisdom and spread light through faith and knowledge now rests where time holds no sway. His last moments belong to the eternal hush, a quiet slipping away from the world's gaze. There's a strange beauty in this ambiguity. It softens Musa's story, like a lullaby whispered into the night. The mystery itself becomes part of the legacy, inviting us to listen with open hearts and dream alongside history. Picture Musa not in grand ceremonies or final fanfares, but in quiet dignity, fading softly from the pages of life. His legacy lives on in the stones of Timbuktu, scholars' words, and the memories held by those who honor him. See, histories are not meant to be fully understood or sharply outlined. Instead, they drift gently through time, like sand caught in a breeze, shaping the world subtly. So the story of Mansa Musa's passing is less an ending than a tender pause, a moment for quiet reflection before the next chapter of history unfolds. In that stillness, we find space to think about what it means to live deeply, to give generously, and to leave behind more than riches, to leave a light that guides those who come after. Soft as the desert twilight, this tale invites us to rest within its quiet fold. It is a song for the soul, reminding us that some mysteries are best kept close, whispered in the night as we drift towards sleep. Hidden beneath the sand, the echoes of fortune whisper stories we may never fully hear. Mali's golden age, vibrant and proud, slowly gave way to softer shadows, woven with the quiet threads of change and loss. Like sunlight poured over the desert, Mansa Musa's wealth dazzled and inspired. Yet, even the brightest light can cast long, gentle shadows that stretch beyond the golden hour. The empire he built was vast, stretched wide across the land, held together by gold, faith, and the delicate balance of power. But balance is a fragile thing. After Musa's reign, the empire faced subtle cracks. The wealth that once bound Mali together began to scatter softly, and gold, which once flowed steady like the Niger River, shifted unevenly. Markets in distant lands felt the gentle tremor. The value of gold softened, rippling through economies with a quiet, persistent touch. It was not ruin that came swiftly, but change, slow as the desert wind. Within the empire, provinces grew restless, and local leaders sought more control. The distant court's voice became faint, lost in the vastness. Pressure came not only from within, but also from neighbors who watched carefully. Some envied Mali's riches, others saw opportunity in its quiet unrest. Trade routes and lifelines of the empire faced growing dangers. Bandits moved softly, like shadows among the dunes. Caravans took longer paths, and wary feet marked slower journeys. Mali's heart, rich with culture and faith, beat steadily. Scholars keep quiet vigils in Timbuktu's libraries, and mosques are filled with whispered prayers. Yet the fabric holding the empire began to thin, thread by thread. Power struggles softened the strength of Mali's crown. Family feuds and ambitions whispered through palace halls. These were not loud battles, but gentle shifts that changed the course of history. History tells us that great empires carry the seeds of their own fragility within them. Wealth, so mighty, can invite quiet loss. The story of Mali echoes with soft lessons about generosity and restraint, as well as light and shadow. The treasures that once defined the empire became scattered, lost to time and turmoil. Some say great hoards of gold were hidden beneath the sands, waiting for patient eyes to find them. Others believe treasure was taken, quietly, carefully, by those who came after. These whispers of lost wealth remind us of other vanished riches. The tale of Atlantis, the fabled city swallowed by the sea, carries a similar shadow. Atlantis, like Mali, is a story of greatness lost. Beauty and power faded into mystery. Its real or imagined treasures remain buried beneath ocean waves, held in silent sleep. Its real or imagined treasures remain buried beneath ocean waves, held in silent sleep. The Incas, too, hid their golden city beneath mountains and mist. Their riches vanished amid conquest and time's soft erasure. Mali's lost gold joins these quiet stories of treasure scattered and hidden. They teach us that no fortune can hold forever, no matter how vast. Wealth is both a gift and a test, a delicate dance of holding and letting go. Mansa Musa's legacy is not only in the gold that shone, but in the soft echoes of what was lost. A reminder that time moves quietly, reshaping even the greatest empires. And so, beneath the silent sands and shifting stars, the story of Mali's fortune whispers on, waiting for those who listen with gentle hearts to hear what history softly sings. Legacy, loss, and haunting aftermath. Mansa Musa's legacy stretches gently across West Africa, a lasting imprint woven through culture, faith, and stone. Though centuries have passed since his reign, his impact remains steady, like the slow flow of the Niger River, calm, deep, and enduring. Architecture became one of the most visible marks of his rule. Mosques rose quietly under his guidance, built from sun-baked mud and timber. These sacred spaces, such as the famous Djinguereber Mosque in Timbuktu, stand still today, silent witnesses to a time when faith was the empire's heart. These buildings were more than places of worship. They were centers of learning, culture, and community. Their walls absorbed centuries of whispered prayers, poetry, and debate. They were spaces where knowledge and spirit intertwined beneath the vast, unending sky. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca was a profound personal journey of faith and a catalyst that planted the seeds of Islamic culture across his empire. This faith blossomed slowly but surely, spreading softly through cities, towns, and villages. In Timbuktu, scholars gathered in quiet courtyards to read and teach. Their voices were soft, but their ideas powerful. They studied the Quran, mathematics, law, and astronomy, nurturing a gentle light of knowledge that guided minds through the shadows of uncertainty. Libraries flourished under Musa's patronage. Manuscripts, handwritten pages of wisdom from distant lands were carefully preserved and shared. These precious texts were as valuable as the gold that had once flowed through Mali's hands. Faith and education grew hand in hand, weaving a delicate web of culture that transformed the empire. Like an oasis blooming in the harsh desert, Mali's golden age became a haven of learning, art, and devotion. Musa's support for scholars, poets, and teachers created a peaceful environment where culture could thrive. This quiet flourishing was perhaps his greatest gift, a legacy of ideas and spirit that would outlast any treasure. The mosques called the faithful to prayer 5 times daily, their voices carrying softly over the city. Schools nurtured new generations, their lessons building the future gently, one student at a time. Timbuktu became a symbol far beyond Mali's borders, a beacon of culture, faith, and learning. It drew travelers, thinkers, and traders, all seeking the light that Musa's reign had kindled. His influence extended beyond architecture and faith into the rhythms of daily life. Markets thrived, trade routes pulsed with quiet activity, and communities strengthened in shared purpose and respect. Musa's vision brought together diverse peoples, tribes, languages, and traditions into a delicate harmony. This unity was not forged by force, but held softly by common belief and mutual respect. Through centuries, the spirit of Musa's empire breathed still. In the cracked mud walls of ancient buildings, in the peaceful streets of Timbuktu, his story lingers, whispered in the wind, waiting to be heard. His legacy reminds us gently that true greatness is not measured only by riches. It is found in faith, learning, and the invisible ties that bind a people's hearts. As the desert sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over the land, the quiet light of Mansa Musa's impact continues to shine. It invites us to pause, listen, and remember the soft songs of history carried on the desert breeze. The memory of Mansa Musa's vast fortune drifts softly through the corridors of time, like a distant echo fading over endless sands. Once his gold was said to outshine the sun itself. Today, that image feels more like a gentle whisper, softened by centuries of silence. We remember Musa for the riches he held and the wisdom he shared. His name endures not simply as a symbol of wealth, but as a quiet beacon of knowledge, faith, and leadership. Great wealth, after all, is fleeting. It sparkles bright for a moment, then slips away like grains of sand through open fingers. Yet the true legacy is often found not in gold, but in the lasting imprint on culture and spirit. Musa's reign left behind more than treasure. It shaped the heart of West Africa, with mosque architecture standing tall, libraries filled with ancient texts, and learning traditions passed from one generation to the next. The dusty walls of Timbuktu still carry his story. The quiet hum of scholars debating law, astronomy, and poetry echoes softly in those sacred spaces. Slow and deliberate learning moments outlasted even the fading of gold's gleam. Mali's political power waned, but its cultural and religious influence endured. Musa's vision became a gentle light guiding future generations, a testament to leadership beyond material wealth. History often remembers rulers by their riches, but Musa's story reminds us that wisdom and faith create a legacy that time cannot easily erase. His generosity sparked admiration and transformation, inspiring growth in knowledge and peace. The gold that once flooded markets is now scattered and lost. Empires rise and fall, treasures fade, and wealth dissolves into history's mist. Yet the ideas Musa nurtured continue to flow, like a quiet river nourishing a people's soul. It is a soft reminder that material fortune, while powerful, is impermanent. True greatness lies in the values and knowledge passed on quietly, from teacher to student, from prayer to prayer. Mansa Musa's lasting gift is found in these subtle, enduring echoes. In the whispered prayers beneath mosque arches, the turning pages of ancient manuscripts, and the shared stories told beneath the African sky. His wealth may have faded from memory, but the wisdom it supported still shines gently, inviting us to look beyond gold and see the deeper treasures of culture, faith, and humanity. Mansa Musa's story drifts softly between history and legend, a timeless tale whispered beneath the endless African sky. Over centuries, his name has grown beyond mere manhood, symbolizing unimaginable wealth and enduring wisdom. His empire, once among the richest the world has known, was a place where gold flowed like a gentle river. Today, Mali is often remembered as the land of the richest man to ever walk the earth, a man whose fortune, if still here, might rival the wealth of entire nations. The sheer scale of Musa's riches inspires awe, even now. Scholars and storytellers speak of wealth so vast it defies simple numbers. He owned more gold than many countries combined, a fortune glittering beyond measure. Yet, the true richness of his legacy is more than gold or treasure. It is found in the culture he nurtured, the faith he strengthened, and the knowledge he spread. Musa's story became legend not only because of wealth, but because of what that wealth enabled, a golden age of learning, art, and architecture in West Africa. Once a quiet city, Timbuktu blossomed into a center of scholarship and trade. Its libraries, filled with precious manuscripts, carried ideas far beyond the desert sands. Generations after Musa, students gathered beneath the soft light of oil lamps, studying texts that linked Mali to the wider world. His patronage of education created ripples that reached across time. Like a slow-burning flame, the empire's cultural glow warmed hearts and minds long after the gold was scattered or lost. Mali's reputation as a cradle of civilization remains strong. It is a place that reminds us how wealth, when paired with vision and care, can illuminate even the darkest corners. Mansa Musa's name has inspired countless factual and mythical stories. He appears in folk tales, songs, and histories told softly by firelight. Today, Mali stands quietly in the world's memory as a land that once held the greatest fortune known to humankind. The idea that such wealth once existed there invites wonder and a gentle sadness for what was lost. Many ask what might have been if that treasure had remained and if Mali's riches had stayed to nurture its people and lands. Yet history teaches that no fortune can hold forever, no matter how vast. Empires rise and fall like tides, leaving behind whispers and stones. Mansa Musa's tale reminds us that true wealth lies in gold and stories, culture and spirits that endure beyond the sands of time. And so, his legend continues, softly shining through centuries, inviting us to listen with gentle hearts to the quiet song of a forgotten empire. What is wealth, if not by gold alone, but by the legacy left in hearts and stones? Mansa Musa's story drifts gently through the layers of time, soft and enduring like the desert winds. His fortune was vast, beyond measure, but his legacy remains the quiet treasure of Mali. Gold once glittered across his empire like scattered stars, yet gold can fade and scatter. Stones endure, as do stories carried in the spirit of a people. Musa's wealth was a river that nourished culture, faith, and knowledge. This river flows still, unseen but alive beneath the surface of history. The cities he shaped, Timbuktu, Gao, and Jenne, became quiet learning centers. Their mud walls hold whispers of scholars and poets, builders and dreamers. These stones, molded by human hands, tell tales of devotion and wisdom far beyond riches. Faith was the foundation Musa laid softly, like sand forming gentle dunes. His support for education and culture created a light to guide future generations. Written in fading ink on fragile pages, manuscripts traveled far and wide, carrying knowledge like a quiet breeze across the desert. Mali became a beacon, not only for its riches, but also for its spirit. It was a place where wisdom bloomed alongside wealth. Even as gold vanished into time's soft embrace, the culture Musa nurtured remained vibrant. He is remembered as the richest man and a leader whose generosity shaped a civilization's soul. Legends grew around his name, stories told softly by firelight, passed from generation to generation. Mali today carries the weight of that legend. It is known as the homeland of a man whose fortune surpassed many nations. If his wealth remained, Mali might be counted among the richest countries on earth. But history's tides wash over even the grandest fortunes, leaving only echoes and dreams behind. Mansa Musa's story invites us to look beyond gold and see the true treasures in culture, faith, and a people's resilience. His legacy is a soft flame, glowing steadily through the long night of history. It calls us to remember that wealth is not just what can be held, but what can be shared and carried forward. The stones of Mali's ancient cities are silent witnesses to a greatness that money alone cannot buy. And in their quiet strength, they ask us to reflect on what truly lasts beyond the fleeting shine of gold. After the treasure fades, the light remains in hearts and minds, the soft, enduring gift of a legacy well lived. Modern connections. Musa's story flows gently to the past and into the present, its echoes shaping the heartbeat of modern Mali. Though centuries have passed, the spirit of this once great empire whispers softly through its lands, carried by the wind over the vast Sahel and deep into the hearts of its people. Today, Mali is a place of quiet resilience and enduring cultural wealth. The country's cities and villages hold the shadows and light of a rich past that many around the world come to witness and honor. Visitors journey from distant lands, drawn not only by history books but by the stories told by the ancient mud walls of Timbuktu and Jenne. These cities, once dazzling centers of trade and knowledge, still speak softly of a time when gold was not just a metal, but a language. With its narrow alleys and towering mosques, Timbuktu carries the weight of centuries in every stone. The sands of time have settled gently in this place, preserving the beauty of a golden age. The manuscripts held in Timbuktu's libraries are treasures beyond gold. They hold wisdom on law, astronomy, medicine, and poetry, knowledge passed down through hands careful to protect it. Once the beating heart of Mansa Musa's empire, this city still draws scholars and seekers. They come to feel the presence of history in the quiet streets, to touch the fragile pages that connect Mali's past with the present. Mali today is a land of contrasts. It holds both the struggles of modern life and the deep pride of a people rooted in greatness. Though the empire's riches have faded, its cultural wealth remains a steady flame. The Malian people carry the legacy with grace and humility. Their music, art, and storytelling echo the rhythms of their ancestors. The djembe drums beat softly but powerfully, reminding all who listen of a rich heritage that refuses to be forgotten. Beyond Mali's borders, the story of Mansa Musa and his empire inspires awe. Around the world, Mali is recognized as the homeland of the richest man who ever lived, an empire that outshone many of history's greatest. The tale of Musa's wealth sparks quiet wonder in museums, classrooms, and conversations between travelers and locals. The idea that such abundance once flowed here invites reflection on history's mysteries. It also invites hope that new stories will rise from the sands of time. Like the desert's soft breeze, Mali's spirit persists quietly yet surely. The land itself holds memories. The Niger River continues its steady course, a lifeline that carried goods, people, and ideas across the region. It is the same river that once nurtured Musa's empire, and now a living thread linking past and present. Modern Mali faces many challenges: economic hardships, political shifts, and struggles for stability. Yet, through it all, the cultural pride remains unbroken. The people of Mali embrace their history not as a distant tale, but as a source of strength. Their connection to Mansa Musa's legacy is a gentle anchor in turbulent times. Communities gather to celebrate ancient traditions and build new futures. They remember that their ancestors once held the world's richest fortune and find courage in that memory. Mali's story is no longer only about gold or power. It is about endurance, identity, and the quiet resilience of a people shaped by time and history. The legacy of Mansa Musa invites all who listen to look beyond surface wealth. It asks us to see the deeper treasures that endure long after gold has faded in culture, faith, and the human spirit. And so, as the sun sets slowly over Mali's wide horizons, the past and present meet softly. The story of a great empire lives on in stones and manuscripts and in its people's proud, hopeful hearts today. Mali remains a land where history breathes gently, where the echoes of a golden age continue to inspire and illuminate. The world witnesses this soft light, this quiet testament to greatness, lost and found beneath the vast African sky. The stories of lost riches are more than mere tales of gold and treasure. They are like echoes, softly carried by the wind, whispering across time and space. These echoes awaken a deep part of us, a yearning to understand where we come from, who we are, and what true wealth means beyond the glitter of gold. Mansa Musa's story is one such echo, but he is not alone. Throughout history, many empires rose to dazzling heights, amassed great wealth, and then faded into silence. Like fading stars, their legacies continue to guide us, quietly illuminating the paths of culture, identity, and hope. Take Petra, the rose-red city carved into Jordan's cliffs. It once thrived as a vital crossroads for traders from distant lands. Its wealth was not only in gold, but also in its walls, water channels, and people's knowledge. Then, slowly, Petra slipped beneath layers of sand and dust, hidden away for centuries. Yet, when rediscovered, it spoke loudly to the world, a silent reminder that great treasures sometimes rest in quiet places, waiting for patient eyes to find them. Or think of Carthage, the powerful Mediterranean empire that rivaled Rome itself. Its riches were vast, its fleets strong, and its culture rich with poetry and trade. Yet war and time brought ruin. Carthage's stones now lie broken, but the stories it left behind inspire generations. They remind us how even the mightiest can fall, yet still leave a mark on the world's memory. Far away, the Inca Empire shaped its world in the high Andes. Their cities and roads were marvels of engineering and spirit. Machu Picchu, perched above the clouds, holds the mysteries of a people who understood the balance between nature, society, and the divine. Though their gold was plundered or lost, their wisdom and culture continue to inspire. It's a quiet legacy that humbles us, showing wealth is more than material riches. The Khmer Empire's Angkor Wat is a monumental stone structure in Cambodia. Temples and reservoirs speak of a civilization that shaped the land with care and faith. Though centuries of neglect dimmed its glory, Angkor Wat's quiet beauty invites reflection on human ambition and devotion. It shows us that the greatest wealth may be what we build for the spirit. Closer to Mali, the great Zimbabwe ruins stand as silent giants. Their walls were crafted without mortar, strong and enduring. They tell of a kingdom connected by trade routes that stretched across Africa and beyond. The gold that passed through its hands was both a blessing and a burden. These ruins remind us of the transient nature of human power and the lasting strength of culture. What binds these stories, Petra, Carthage, the Inca, Angkor Wat, Great Zimbabwe, and Mali, is a human longing for meaning and permanence. Like Mansa Musa, these empires sought to turn wealth into something more: culture, knowledge, faith, and identity. Humans are drawn to tales of lost riches because they mirror our struggles. We seek to build, to leave something behind that will outlast us. But we also face the quiet truth that all things change, that empires rise and fall, and that time softens even the hardest stone. This tale of the richest man to ever walk the earth under the skies offers a gentle reflection on this human journey. His wealth was gold and a vision to enrich his people's spirit. Today, that vision whispers in Mali's markets, songs, and sacred spaces. It encourages a pride that is not loud but steady, a pride in the roots that nourish the present and future. Modern Mali carries the weight of this history with grace. Despite challenges, its people honor a legacy of generosity, learning, and resilience. The Golden Age is no longer visible in riches alone, but in the enduring culture and identity that pulse quietly beneath the surface. This gentle pride spreads beyond Mali's borders. Across West Africa and the wider world, people look to Musa's story as a source of inspiration. It reminds us all that true wealth is measured not by possessions, but by the stories we carry and the light we pass on. These ancient tales call to us in the quiet moments when night falls and the stars blink softly. They invite us to listen deeply, not just to the glitter of gold, but to the softer treasures of wisdom, courage, and hope. We walk paths once traveled by great empires, feeling the weight and wonder of history beneath our feet. In that feeling, we find a connection to those who came before, to the earth beneath us, and to the future yet to be shaped. So, searching for lost riches is more than a quest for gold. It is a journey into the heart of what it means to be human. It asks us to cherish what shines and endures in stone, in spirit, and in the quiet beating of time. The fascination with forgotten empires and their treasures is a quiet song that has played throughout human history. It calls to something deep within us, an ancient longing to touch the past, to feel the pulse of worlds that once shimmered in glory, now resting gently beneath layers of time. Empires like the Qing and Ming dynasties of China evoke visions of porcelain elegance, vast palaces, and gardens where silk fluttered in the breeze. Their wealth was a delicate balance of art, power, and tradition. The Ming built the Great Wall, which stretches like a serpent across mountains, and is a silent protector of their realm. Though centuries have passed, their influence still whispers in the intricate ceramics and the poetry that drifts through time. The Roman Empire, grand and commanding, stretched across continents. Its roads and aqueducts still trace the outlines of a civilization built on law, culture, and ambition. Though worn, Rome's marble temples and forums speak softly of a world where the power pulse was steady and vast. The stories of gladiators and senators blend with echoes of philosophers whose thoughts continue to shape our own. Further east, Korea's Joseon dynasty is remembered for its harmony of Confucian values and art. Its palaces, painted in soft pastels, sheltered scholars who sought balance in governance and life. Their treasures were jewels and wisdom, encoded in calligraphy and the gentle rhythm of traditional music. The legacy of Joseon teaches patience and grace, qualities that endure beyond the shifting sands of fortune. With its sweeping domes and bustling bazaars, the Ottoman Empire wove a tapestry of cultures and faiths across 3 continents. Istanbul, the heart of the empire, was a meeting place where East and West brushed softly together. The Sultan's treasures filled harem halls and mosques with shimmering light, yet the empire's art and architecture remain a quiet testament to its greatness. Even the story of Japan, with its shoguns and samurai, adds to this melody of forgotten power. Castles perched on hillsides and gardens arranged with delicate care tell of a world where honor and beauty were intertwined. The treasures of feudal Japan were often subtle. Tea sets, swords, poetry, yet they hold a richness that transcends gold. And then there is the Spanish Empire, whose conquistadors sailed across oceans in search of wealth and new worlds. The stories of gold and silver taken from the Americas echo like thunder. Cities built on ruins, the blend of cultures, and the scars left behind are part of a history that still shapes continents. Each empire, in its own way, faced the slow unfolding of time. Their riches scattered or buried, their power waned, yet the echoes of their lives continue to inspire wonder. The treasures may have been lost or hidden, but the spirit of these empires lives in art, language, and the quiet pride of their descendants. These stories reach centuries, connecting us to the past in soft, meaningful ways. They remind us that greatness is measured by what remains visible in the stories we carry forward. And then there is the Spanish Empire, whose conquistadors sailed across oceans in search of wealth and new worlds. The stories of gold and silver taken from the Americas echo like thunder. Cities built on ruins, the blend of cultures, and the scars left behind are part of a history that still shapes continents. Each empire, in its own way, faced the slow unfolding of time. Their riches scattered or buried, their power waned, yet the echoes of their lives continue to inspire wonder. The treasures may have been lost or hidden, but the spirit of these empires lives in art, language, and the quiet pride of their descendants. These stories reach centuries, connecting us to the past in soft, meaningful ways. They remind us that greatness is measured by what remains visible in the stories we carry forward. They remind us that history is alive, not just in dusty tomes or crumbling ruins, but in the gentle pulse of memory and the enduring light of human spirit. As the warmth of the fire gently flickers, let us take a slow, quiet breath and reflect on the journey we have shared. From humble beginnings to the shimmering heights of greatness, and then to the soft, fading echoes of time, this is the story of a man and a kingdom whose wealth once touched the sky. Mansa Musa rose like the morning sun over the vast plains of West Africa. He was shaped by his land and people, carrying their hopes and dreams in his steady hands. His vision was to build an empire of gold and nurture a culture of learning, faith, and connection. Through his leadership, Mali grew strong and wide, stretching its arms across deserts and rivers, weaving trade routes that sang with the footsteps of caravans. In the heart of his empire, cities bloomed like desert flowers after rain. Timbuktu, the jewel of Mali, became a beacon of knowledge. Scholars from distant lands gathered beneath the shadows of grand mosques, where the quiet rustle of pages mingled with prayers. The richness of culture and faith was a treasure more precious than gold. Yet, even as riches poured like the Niger River, there was a gentle reminder that all things move with the rhythm of time. The dazzling light of Musa's reign slowly softened, shadows lengthened, and the great empire began its quiet descent. Economic challenges whispered through markets, and internal strife stirred beneath the surface. Still, the legacy of generosity and wisdom endured like an ember glowing at night. Across the ages, Musa's story has been folded into the fabric of legend and memory. He is remembered not just for the vast fortune he carried, but for the vision and heart that shaped a people's destiny. Like sand slipping through fingers, his wealth may have scattered, but his spirit remains rooted deep in Mali's soil. What remains most striking is the quiet truth about wealth. It is not the gold that endures, but the stones built, the knowledge shared, and the kindness extended. The stories that ripple through time remind us that greatness is measured in legacy, not just riches. What remains most striking is the quiet truth about wealth. It is not the gold that endures, but the stones built, the knowledge shared, and the kindness extended. The stories that ripple through time remind us that greatness is measured in legacy, not just riches. As we draw this story near, let us hold gently to the thought that every empire, every person carries within it a light. Some blaze brightly, others glow softly, but all leave marks on the world's canvas. In this gentle unfolding of history, we find a mirror to our lives. The rise, the peak, the decline, and the memory all dance together in the endless flow of time. So, as the embers fade and the night deepens, we close with a soft question to carry in the quiet moments. What do we choose to leave behind when the gold has long since vanished? What is the true measure of a life well lived? And with that, the fire dims, the stories rest, and we too find peace in the gentle night. As the fire's warm glow flickers low and the night settles into its gentle rhythm, we come to a quiet place in our journey where mystery and memory entwine softly. Mansa Musa's fortune is not just a tale of gold and grandeur. It is a gentle enigma, resting beneath the sands, whispered by history but never fully unveiled. Mansa Musa's wealth was once a dazzling light in the desert heat, a river of gold flowing through a great empire's markets and trade routes. It was a wealth so vast that it reshaped the economies of continents and captured the imaginations of people far beyond Mali's borders. Yet, as seasons changed and centuries passed, that fortune slipped away, not in sudden loss but in quiet dispersal. Some say the gold melted beneath the African sun, absorbed into the earth that had given it life. Others believe treasure was hidden deep within forgotten cities, buried under layers of dust and time. Coins and jewels scattered by the winds of history, carried by traders and conquerors, lost to the shifting tides of fate. Like a fading star, this vanished treasure leaves behind a soft glow, an echo of a brilliance that once was. It reminds us that even the mightiest fortunes are fragile, subject to time's quiet, inevitable flow. Yet, looking closely, we see that Musa's greatest riches were not made of gold alone. They were forged in the culture he nurtured, in the cities that rose like oases of learning in the desert. Timbuktu and Gao became beacons of knowledge, their libraries and mosques filled with scholars and seekers. These were treasures more enduring than gold, treasures of the mind and spirit. The legacy of Musa's reign is carried in the stories told under the shade of baobab trees, in the songs sung by generations long after the gold had gone. History remembers him not just as the richest man who ever lived, but as a leader of wisdom and generosity. His reign whispers of kindness, vision, and faith, a glow that endures quietly across time. His life invites us to ask, what is wealth? Is it only the sparkle of gold and jewels, or the light we leave behind in hearts and stones? The lessons shared, the faith built, the beauty created, are riches that no time can steal. As the night deepens and the embers fade, we hold close this gentle truth. The most precious treasures are not those weighed or counted. They are those carried softly through memory, passed down in quiet moments, and felt in the pulse of culture. Mansa Musa's story is a mirror, reflecting our own human journey. We seek greatness and build our empires, sometimes grand, sometimes fragile. We leave behind what we can, hoping to be remembered not for the things we hold, but for the light we shared. In this quiet reflection, the mystery of his lost fortune becomes less about what vanished and more about what remains, the kindness, the wisdom, the inspiration, a legacy far beyond gold. So as we close this chapter by the fading firelight, we carry with us a soft question, whispered like the desert wind. When all is said and done, what do we truly leave behind? What is the real measure of a life, if not the legacy etched in the hearts of those who follow? As the quiet night settles around us and the fire's soft glow dims to embers, we find ourselves at the gentle close of a long journey. We have walked through the golden sands of history, tracing the path of a man whose wealth once shimmered brighter than the midday sun. But now, in this stillness, we pause to reflect not on the gold itself, but on something far deeper, something more tender. Mansa Musa's fortune was a wonder of the world, a dazzling light that lit the desert and dazzled distant lands. Yet, as we've seen, wealth is not a fixed star. It fades, it shifts, it slips away, like grains of sand through our fingers. The treasures he held so grandly are now whispers in the wind, scattered across time and space. Yet, the story remains alive in memory, in culture, in the hearts of those who still look to that distant past with wonder. What then is the true nature of fortune? Is it the shining gold, the glimmering jewels, the vast riches displayed with pride? Or is it something softer, something unseen? It may be the stories we tell, the lessons passed down gently through generations. The legacy of wisdom, kindness, and faith that Mansa Musa left behind weighs heavier than any treasure chest. We often think of fortune in numbers, in the weight of gold or silver, but the greatest fortunes are the ones that live quietly in stone walls, in ancient mosques, and in the libraries where knowledge was nurtured and cherished. They live in the voices of poets and scholars, in the songs sung softly by the people beneath the vast African sky. Even as gold slips beneath the sand, the impact of Musa's reign endures. The cities he built, the culture he fostered, and the faith he inspired form a tapestry that stretches beyond time. It reminds us that life's precious riches are not always counted or weighed. They are felt in memories, traditions, and the quiet strength of a people. In this calm moment, we might ask ourselves, what do we seek? Is it the sparkle of wealth or the gentle light of meaning? Is it the fleeting gleam of gold or the lasting warmth of shared stories and lives? Mansa Musa's story is a mirror to our own human hearts. Like him, we build, we create, we dream. Like him, we face the passage of time, the changes that come silently, shifting the world beneath us. His tale urges us to look beyond the surface, to treasure what can be held and what can be remembered. The mystery of Mansa Musa's fortune remains as the embers glow softly and the night wraps around us like a quiet embrace. It is a gentle enigma that invites us to listen, to wonder, and to feel the delicate threads that connect past and present, wealth and wisdom, loss and legacy. And so, as we close this chapter, a quiet question lingers in the stillness. Ultimately, does the greatest fortune lie in gold or the stories we choose to remember? Let this question rest with you, like a soft whisper from the desert wind. Let it settle gently in your thoughts as the night deepens. The richest treasures are not always found in vaults or buried beneath the earth, but are held tenderly in the heart's quiet places. Silent as dusk's soft fall, Mansa Musa's story drifts gently through time, like a feather carried on a slow breeze. It is a tale whispered beneath the vast skies of the Sahara, where the sands keep secrets older than memory itself. His journey, fortune, and empire all fade softly into the horizon, inviting us to rest within the quiet folds of history. Mansa Musa's legacy is a lullaby sung in gold and stone, a soft melody of grandeur and grace. His riches once gleamed brighter than the morning sun, lighting the deserts and cities alike. Yet, as the light dims, we understand that the truest wealth is not held in treasures alone, but in the echoes left behind, quiet, enduring, and deep. The vast empire he ruled stretched like a breath across the land, filled with bustling markets, soaring mosques, and libraries where the whispers of scholars lingered long after the candles had burned low. Timbuktu, his shining jewel, became a cradle of learning, a sanctuary where faith and knowledge danced in gentle harmony. These were treasures not weighed in gold, but held in hearts and minds. This cultural flourishing is the soft pulse beneath the grandeur. It beats quietly yet persistently, reminding us that legacy is more than wealth. It is the breath of life passed from generation to generation. The words written on delicate parchment, the verses recited in evening prayers, and the lessons taught under starlit skies are the true gold of Musa's reign. Yet, even the brightest stars must eventually wane. Musa's fortune, vast as the desert, could not guard against the slow, inevitable changes that time brings. Empires, like the shifting sands, are fragile. The winds of conflict, the tides of change, and the shadows of loss whispered softly across Mali's great lands. The wealth that once built cities and inspired awe began to scatter, leaving stories filled with glory and quiet sorrow. There is a delicate sadness in this fading light, a gentle mourning for what was and what could no longer be held. But within this sorrow is a quiet beauty, the understanding that all things live in cycles and that greatness is not always measured by permanence, but by the grace with which it is remembered. In their fullness, the tales reflect on human desire and the impermanence of all things. We are drawn to tales of lost riches and vanished empires because they speak to a part of ourselves that longs for meaning beyond the tangible. Gold and power are but symbols of deeper truths, the search for legacy, the quest for wisdom, the hope for remembrance. What remains when the treasures vanish? What lingers after the stones crumble? These questions float like clouds across the quiet landscape of history, inviting us to consider the treasures hidden in stories, in memory, in the silent passage of time. The mystery of Musa's lost fortune becomes not a puzzle to solve, but a gentle enigma to hold close, a lullaby for the restless soul. It reminds us that some riches are meant to be felt, not owned. Some legacies are carried, not captured. As we drift through this quiet understanding, we see that Musa's greatest gift may have been his example of generosity, wisdom, and faith. The echoes of his reign invite us to look beyond the glitter and the gold and to find comfort in the enduring light of culture and knowledge. The sands will cover the gold and the cities will change shape, but the stories will remain, softly spoken and quietly treasured, and in those stories, the spirit of a king who once ruled with grace continues to breathe. So now, as your eyes grow heavy and the world softens at the edges, carry this gentle thought with you. True fortune is not what lies beneath the earth, but what lives within the heart. In the silence between the stars, in the hush of night's embrace, we find the quiet truth that wealth is not just gold, but the stories we remember, the love we share, and the light we leave behind. Let the calm of this story settle over you like a soft blanket. Let it ease your mind and soothe your spirit. Ultimately, the greatest treasures are those that softly linger long after the riches have slipped away. Rest now, with the gentle knowledge that Mansa Musa's tale is not just of wealth, but of a legacy that whispers through the ages, inviting us all to dream beneath the endless sky, sweet dreams.